I don't think people realize this, especially college students, but when you're in college, it's literally like it's it's it is a society and it's a civilization. And if you actually do whatever you want to do in the real world in college, you'll be successful. Because
Mm,
college is kind of like the trial, right? Like you're on this campus, there's 30,000 students. I mean, you have your own safety, like police service or whatever it is. You have your own library, you have your own health center or whatever it is. You essentially have a very, very, very small town. Why not give it an opportunity to do what you want to do in the real world in school? That's why I didn't get the best grades when I was in college, right? Because I was like, hey, this is, you know, this is like the world, but it's not the world. I actually get to try this out, and if I fail, no one cares because we're all screw ups anyways, right? It's like we're all literally about to get into a rat race, and it's like why not try something here? So when I was in college, I was an entrepreneur in college. I tried a bunch of different things, like whether it be a service or product or just marketing myself. I did everything, from throwing parties all the way down to like when I was in when I my sophomore year, between my sophomore year and my junior year, I worked on this app on campus at Portland State called 401U. And it was 401 universities just because I found out that a lot of the students actually that were on campus didn't know all of the resources that were available on the campus at Portland State. And ultimately, I was like, we need something that's social, but we need something that's also a hub to get alerts and all these, things or whatever that were going on campus. Like, for instance, I found out, and the only reason why I knew all these things is because while I was actually at Portland State, I actually worked on campus. I actually was one of those students that was also staff, right? I was the head of design. I was the lead designer for the comm department in at Portland State, and I had no business having this job, but I was really good at what I did, right? So, ultimately, uh, the my boss just saw something in me, and they offered me the job, right? I was making like I don't know, $15 an hour, which was a lot back then. Like $15 on campus, like you're the man, like
yeah,
you're living,
real
right?
money.
Like that's bank. And I came from a place where my first paycheck, my first job I ever had, which was at Goodwill, at Goodwill Industries. I was a sales attendant, but I made no sales. I was the guy that literally was at the donation centers, and everybody
Mm,
gave me their filth. And I had to just like parse through there and like find out what was clean, put it in a box, whatever is dirty, we throw it away. That was me, right? And I was making $7.95. And it's crazy. Like you work, and after 2 weeks, you check your paycheck. You're like, man, I made $250. Man, that's amazing. But I guess things were different back then. But back to on campus, obviously making $15 an hour and stuff. I had this role where I was the lead designer, and under me was four other departments, right? And it was a pretty huge responsibility because I managed that department's also website as well. Um, and I found out about so many resources on campus. Like, for instance, I don't know if this is still current or not, but on Tuesdays, there used to be I think this was in Smith Hall. It's either Smith or Kramer Hall. And only Portland State students obviously would know this, but there was a area in that hall where they would actually give like books away. So a lot of like the student textbooks and stuff, right, that you need for classes, they would essentially just like have them there for like super cheap or just for free. Another day, they actually used to have I think this one was Kramer or Smith Hall, not sure, but when you walk in, you could actually go grocery shopping for free. Like they're just giving like
oh, wow.
cans of food and stuff like that. And I mean, top ramen and stuff. And I mean, when you're on campus and stuff, it's like, yeah, like we're all eating that stuff. It's like
Oh
you
yeah.
should know about that place and go there instead of going to Safeway and, spending money on groceries and stuff. So ultimately, I just took it upon myself, and, I spent countless hours, and my classmates, they will tell you I'm notorious for sleeping in the library, sleeping in the computer lab. There was a point in time where I actually didn't have a place to stay, like a couple of months where I literally didn't have a place to live. I used to live in the locker room, right, while I was in between,
Mm,
like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I would spend a lot of nights at the computer lab, right, in Broadway, on campus, and that's literally like a lot of what I did on campus. I spent all of my time in college literally positioning myself to be successful in real life. So if I knew I wanted to build a business in real life, I was like, hey, I have these passions, let me try it out. Even to throw in parties, like these. So I pledged a very popular frat when I was in college, and me and my line brother, my fraternity brother, we quickly found out that we could make a lot of money throwing parties, man. So we just started throwing parties and stuff. The first one obviously was terrible. I do not kid you. It was so bad that a fight broke out. It was maybe like
Mm.
four people there.
Poor people.
It was maybe like four people there, and it was so bad. And we learned a lot from that. Obviously, we recouped, created a whole new business plan and marketing plan, and we had a series of massive parties that campus had never seen before. Because up until that point, you have to remember it's Portland State. Portland State's in like the city of Portland.
Mm.
It's literally in downtown Portland, but it just occupies like real estate within downtown, right? And ultimately, it's a big city, so you have a lot of people that's like, "Hey, I'm not going to go out party or whatever, or go to an event or whatever. I'm just going to go to my buddy's house that plays on a football team, right?" And for the longest time, that was like the social life. But if you're from out of state coming to Oregon and stuff, you don't just want to sit around and at a house and drink beer and stuff like that. It's like you want to dance, you want like something that actually feels like college. And my fraternity brought that to Portland State.
Mm.
And like one of our parties was it was such a dope party. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you threw any parties while you're at school, while you're in college or anything like that, but there comes a point in time where you start being proud of yourself at the line that you're forming outside, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, man, like we're gonna talk about this for ages. We threw one party that was so good, and like so we used to go to a hotel and rent out the ballroom. It was like $800. Me and my
Hmm.
brother would put the money together and stuff, but we knew that we're gonna recoup like thousands, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, whatever, and then we'll do it over and over and over and over again. But this party was it was cracking. MTV showed up. So MTV
Wow.
Real Life,
Wow.
the reality TV show, showed up at the
Yeah.
party. And by the way, the episode of that MTV, it was like MTV. It was like I hate my life or I hate my butt or whatever. There was obviously there were a couple of stars on the show that were at Portland State and were also Portland natives, obviously that
Mm.
heard about our party, so they obviously came to our party and stuff. And it was crazy when we saw all the cameras and stuff. That's at that specific moment. It's kind of like super bad, like everything just slows down and you just look around. You're like, no freaking way, man. It's like Wolf of Wall Street. Those slow mo scenes where
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, it
Just
feels the
crazy
exact
shit.
same,
Yeah.
man. It's like for just a bunch of frat kids that were just like, hey, like we're trying to do something different on campus, and we're throwing these parties, and we hire our own DJs and stuff. And ultimately, obviously, no one got in trouble. These were parties that were safe, but it was just different from what everybody else was doing as far as like going to a house and drinking beer and just drinking alcohol the whole time, right? It's like you got to come to our events, you got to dance, you got to, like just meet other people that are also coming down from other schools, right? So
Hmm.
ultimately, when I was in college, a lot of what I did is I took advantage of the opportunity of this mini society to do the same things that I wanted to do in the real world. And I mean, if you if you study anything that I do, it's no different than what I was doing in college. It's really the same thing. I just have way more experience now as far as what's going to work and what's not going to work. So if anybody's watching this and you're in college, or you're about to go to college, obviously get your grades done, right? Like, take care of your homework and all those things, like get good grades and stuff, stay out of trouble, but find every opportunity you can not to spend as much time in your dorm room as much as you should, right? Or in your apartment or whatever it is. Like be on campus, get a job on campus, be involved on campus, find out about the different clubs on campus, run for office on campus, pledge something on campus, right? Like do all of the things that a lot of people think is like not cool, like join the chess club, go to the chess events, it's like make a bunch of different friends. Don't be that kid that's just like, secluded and, like, and a lot of athletes, honestly, they were like that. Athletes only
Hmm.
hung out with other athletes. I didn't. I hung out with anyone, right? It's like I made friends with anyone. Like one of my friends actually in Saudi Arabia, he just got married, right? And these are people that we still keep in touch through Instagram and stuff like that. And it's like most athletes would never relate to somebody like that, right?
Hmm.
So it's like And I guess it's also because I do have that international background, obviously. So I'm open minded. But anybody watching this, I strongly recommend you be involved on campus if you're if you're at a university. And I also strongly suggest that you try things at universities, right? And when I say try things, I don't mean drugs. I mean like try ventures. You know, like I don't know, do a vending machine, sell candy. You know, start a service or something. Start a laundry service where you actually, you know, dry clean everybody's clothes. You know, and create an app around it. Something, right? Because ultimately, the same things you do in college that make you successful in college can also make you successful in the real world.